Since 2003, this is The Sports Source. With your host, John Pennington.
The Sports Source is presented by Junk Be Gone, Pipe Wrench, and the Garza Law Firm.
The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Junk Be Gone studios for the Sports Source. Happy to have you with us. Tennessee with a monster win, just a massive win for the program last night at Oklahoma. 25-15. Heupel goes home, gets his revenge, and then leaves with a lot of class. Just the way I like it. Very impressive performance. We'll discuss it. Was Heupel too conservative? Have people gotten too used to scoring 70 every week that it's a bad thing when you only win by double digits on the road at Oklahoma? I think that's a good thing. So we'll get into that. We'll get into what that win meant for their playoff chances. And for those of you who watch our Saturday show, or tried to yesterday, at the end of this segment, I'll explain what happened then, and I'll even try and do it without cursing. Let's get into this first segment of our show today. It's brought to you by the Garza Law Firm. If you watch this show, then you know I believe in working with local companies, local businesses. There's value in local companies. And let me tell you, when I flip on TV and I see an advertisement for an attorney or a law firm, and it's like, I've never heard of them, I will go on my phone, grab it, and search where they're from. And you keep digging, and it's like, oh, Birmingham. Oh, they're in Memphis. Gotcha. They're out of Chattanooga. Folks, you need a local attorney if you're going to be dealing in the local judicial system. Best local attorney, Marcos Garza and the Garza Law Firm. You can check them out at garzalaw.com. You'll be very happy you did. So many people have used them over the years and said great things about them. I'm sure if you just ask around town, you'll have somebody say, Marcos Garza? Absolutely. That's who I used. That's who you should use too. If you find yourself in a legal bind, think Marcos Garza. Okay, let's welcome in the guys I think about when I think, if I want to do a television show, who do I bring in? I bring in Jimmy Himes. I bring in VFL Will Overstreet, Josh Ward, Bob Hodge right there. We got three more people waiting in the wings. And I want to say right off the bat, Marlon Walls couldn't be here today, it turns out, but also thoughts to our buddy Mike Stoll. As he would say, the Stoll train got derailed a little bit. Had a car accident the other day that he's going to be recuperating from for a while. He's okay. Everybody that was in the car with him is okay. But it's the kind of thing that, you know, some broken bones, that kind of stuff you're going to have to recover from. So our thoughts are with our buddy and former Vol captain, Mike Stoll. Okay. Massive win for the program. As I said, take a look at this. Tennessee's defense went 19 straight quarters without allowing touchdown before the fourth quarter last night. Bob, didn't you see it on the show? It's like the longest streak in 20 years.
20 years, which kind of surprising.
That's stunning. The second time a Heupel team has won when not scoring 30 points. Did it last year against Texas A&M. It's the third time, we showed you this last week, that only twice had they held an opponent on the road, an SEC opponent on the road, to under 24 points. Did it again yesterday. It's the third time. And then, as you saw during the broadcast several times, the first Vol win on the road versus a top 15 opponent since a 51-33 win at Georgia in 2006, snapping a 29-game losing streak. It was a massive win for Tennessee. I'm guessing defense is going to come up, so why don't I just start? Top takeaway, what do you got, Will Overstreet?
The defense. The defensive front, the defensive line, whatever you want to say. You held an SEC opponent on their home ground to only 40 yards rushing. That says it all. You dominated this game from start to finish on that defensive front, and it wasn't just the same guys. There's Tyree West, Arian Carter, Jackson Amoy, Jason Jenkins. All of these guys are different names making plays that some have made the previous week, some haven't. So it was just amazing to see. It's not just the first string guys. It's the second string. It's the third string. They all show. There's a lot of those guys are showing up and playing really well. So this is a very, very deep front, and you just continue to see. The other thing I would add, one of our questions coming into this year was the secondary. We still could say, hey, how are they going to do against coverage? But as far as tackling and being athletic and coming up and playing the run, this team has grown leaps and bounds from where it was last year.
Bob and I were talking last night during the game, the closing speed for all the defenders.
Yes.
I mean, even the defensive linemen, they're kind of springing on the quarterback. They look like they've all been shot full of some sort of energy drink before they get out there. It's impressive.
Well, you have to, because listen, If you don't come to play, you're not going to see the side. You're not going to see the field for a long, long time because they got a bunch of other guys that will come out there and lay it on the line. And so it sets a tone that if I get on the field, I better make the most of it. Otherwise, they're going to put somebody else in here, not me.
Oklahoma got things going there late in the fourth quarter, but going into the fourth quarter, Tennessee had them at 98 total yards.
Yeah.
On the road at Oklahoma. You haven't seen that kind of defense, well, maybe since 98-01 when you were over there. Jimmy, your top takeaway.
Well, you could argue that Tennessee's had a better starting front four at some point, maybe when they had Haynesworth and Henderson, Sean Elsniger. But I think this is the deepest defensive line they've ever had. You can go 10 or 11 deep with this group, and I've never seen that with Tennessee before. We talk about the offense can wear out an opposing defense. This defensive line can wear out an offensive line. So I've been very impressed with that. I'm impressed with the fact that they get off the field also. Oklahoma was 3 out of 15 on third downs. Tennessee's given up 9 third down conversions in 53 attempts, I think it is. That's amazing what they've been able to do. So I'm impressed that now you've got a head coach that likes to score a ton of points that will surrender to his defense if he feels like he needs to.
We'll get into that a little bit later in the show. We talked about it some last year. Another thing I would throw out here is just Vol fans need to hope. And this show has been bragging on him since he got here. There were a lot of people that wanted him fired over the years. We've kept throwing up. Look at the numbers. Look at the I know he gave up 52 in this game. Alabama gives up 52 in a game. That happens. As a Vol fan, you better hope Tim Banks has a little John Chavis and Brent Venables in him. Doesn't want to be a head coach. John Chavis was happy being a defensive coordinator. Brent Venables refused head coaching opportunities until late in his career when he went to Oklahoma. Tim Banks, I'm afraid, is going to start getting some head coaching opportunities. Yes. He is doing a spectacular job. Josh Ward, top takeaway.
And the touchdown streak comes to an end, but think about how hard it was for Oklahoma to end it. They get the ball set up right there with a chance to punch it in. Tennessee takes the ball right back. So in stressful situations against NC State, pick six, it goes the other way when NC State was striking and trying to get in the end zone. Did that against Oklahoma. Even late, that last touchdown, stopped at the goal line, flipped in the air. Then on a fourth down play.
The 2-point conversion was the same kind of thing.
Exactly. So in stressful situations, when their backs are against the wall or against the goal line in this situation, the defense is still able to step up.
I should have looked that up. How many plays did Oklahoma have to run inside the 10?
Yeah.
Because it was more than you would normally think. They kept slamming the door on them. That's a good one. Bob, what do you got?
You look at their defense, and there was a play, first quarter, wasn't that big of a thing, but Boo Carter knocks the running back out of bounds. Huge hit. True freshman, and you look at the speed in that secondary because he came more or less all the way across the field, made the hit. To me, as great as the defensive line is, the defensive backs and the speed you have back there combined with, remember last year on this week, we were making fun of their tackling.
Yep.
That was the joke. We were making fun of the way the DBs tackle.
It was the Florida week.
I'm going to jump at you and turn my back, or I'm going to reach out with one hand and grab it.
You had the Kamal Hadden.
Yes, and this is so totally different from that the defensive line, obviously, they're great, they're fantastic, but if you look at those DBs and how athletic they are, I mean, I think this defense, and I had big questions about the DBs all during the offseason, but from front to back, I mean, this unit, I don't think I should say, wow, they look like Georgia. But this defense kind of looks like some of those Georgia teams where everybody can run, everybody can hit, and everybody can tackle.
Well, that's one of the big things that you got to love about this if you're a Tennessee fan, the fact that defensive line, I mean, Georgia has run away from you the last 3 years. If this defensive line is healthy and still playing like this in November, they may beat you. They're not going to run away from you like that unless you turn it over a bunch. This is the kind of defense that will keep you in every game.
Well, this is the kind of defense that keeps you, especially in road games, right? And that's really the strength of this. This defense travels on the road. And so having this kind of front gives you a chance to get into a knife fight and come out of the game just like we did last night. As a low-scoring affair for us, and you're able to win that game.
Well, Judge Marlon Wall said it right here to you last week on the set. The snowball effect when you're on the road. That kind of defense prevents you from getting in that situation where it keeps the crowd out of it because you're not giving up yardage, which just builds on top of itself. You're able to kind of slam the door.
Well, when you go on the road, you worry that the home team you're facing is going to fill the crowd and use that energy Tennessee's defense can take that energy away. And I think Oklahoma felt that pretty early. It affected Jackson Arnold. We're talking about how was Nico affected going on the road. Tennessee's defense affected Jackson Arnold to the point that before halftime, their head coach has to make a change.
Yeah, very quickly, we only got about a minute here on the Jackson Arnold thing. I don't want to put it all on one kid, but I would say this. He's basically got one less start than Nico, two less starts than Nico Iamaleava. Compare the two. Nico Iamaleava, as we tried to say, don't expect Peyton Manning's senior year in September of his first year. He's got some things he's going to have to grow into. But, boy, you look at where he is compared to Jackson Arnold. You can make the case Jackson Arnold was the difference in that game. If they had started Mike Hawkins, it's a different game. I still think Tennessee wins, but it is a different game because at least Hawkins wasn't turning the ball over. That was a Peterman-esque performance. He was so rattled there at the end. It was like Venables looked at it and said, I don't want to give him another touchdown with a minute to go here.
I would say if you put Nico and Jackson Arnold on the field, they're both going to look athletic. They both have good arms. The
Poise
is the difference. The fact that Nico, several times, he could have panicked. Many times he could have panicked. And he kept his cool. Yeah, he had a couple of turnovers, this and that. But that's the difference. I mean, one of them's athletic and got a good arm. The other's athletic and got a good arm. But it's up here that I thought was the huge difference.
Jimmy, anything to close out with?
No, I just defensively, you mentioned staying healthy on defense. They can actually have a couple of injuries on the defensive line and get away with it.
Yeah.
They can't do that on the offensive line.
No.
And we'll have a whole segment on the offensive line coming up. That was a quick reaction. Mood change. All right. Hey, I do want to tell you that just talking about issues here. Last Sunday, we were asked to go do a show at Smokies Park. We showed up and we're told sit here and given the equipment. I can't control the wind, folks. I wish I had the power to stop the wind, but I don't. That's one of the things that's out of our control. Yesterday, it was a hell of a week for me. Yesterday, we had 16 people taking part in a show in like 10 different locations. It's kind of like Inside the NFL. It's kind of an overview of the program, our Saturday kickoff show. And 17-hour edit for me, and then we turn it over. After that, I don't have any control over it. Turns out somebody hit the wrong button, played the wrong show yesterday. Trust me, you weren't as mad as I was. But the problem is that wasn't a WATE thing. I want to make that clear. In today's local TV world, this is corporate, this is 6, 8, 10 here in town, 43 here in town, every station across the country now, corporations have gotten rid of people at local stations and they've hubbed stuff in other cities. So we'll run 50 stations out of one hub. So someone in Spartanburg, South Carolina yesterday queued up and hit play on the wrong show. And once it's there, WATE has nothing they can do about it. There's nothing I can do about it. And it stinks. It absolutely stinks. But that's not going to change the fact that we're going to continue to have 15, 16 people on shows, 8, 9 on these post-game shows. We're going to continue to try and give you better coverage than anybody's ever given anyone in East Tennessee before. That's my promise to you. We won't always hit it. It won't always be my fault. But we're going to continue to try and kick ass on this show. Now, when you turn on and the grid guide is wrong, ignore it. If I tell you we're going to be there, we're going to be there. And if you go there and it's a show from 2007 that's running for some reason, then I want you to do this. I want you to get online. Let's go to the graphic, guys. If there are issues on TV, our shows are online. You can watch at sportsource.tv. You can watch on our YouTube channel. It's always there. And if it's not there, and if it's not the right show, that means I've just decided to end it all. All right, when we come back, the best player, the worst decision, and the biggest disappointment of the night. Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by A.G. Hines Company. Boy, cultured stone, Nudura concrete forms, anything that is cutting edge, they got it at A.G. Hines Company. I know you're thinking, well, they've been around for 100 years. Yes, they've gotten to be that old by constantly looking toward the future, and they do a great job. Whether it's cost efficiency you're looking for, whether it is energy efficiency you're looking for, speed, how quickly you can put a building together, some of this stuff makes it much quicker. So I'm telling you, A.G. Hines Company, if you've got a project, a do-it-yourself thing at your house or a business that's going up, start there. Gordon Hines and his team, his family's there. His team is like family. Fantastic company. aghines.com to learn more. All right, I want to welcome in the next members of our panel right there. Chuck Cavaleris, right here, VFL Daniel Hood, VFL Sterling Hinton. Happy. All right.
Yes, sir.
Let's take a look at our Hearthside Bank poll question today. Like Hearthside Bank, it's always within reach. You can just use your smartphone to click the QR code right there, or you can go to sportsource.tv and click on polls and take it there. We got some people who've already been playing it, but boy, look at the low. Wow. 4 games in, what are you most confident in? Number 1, the defense. Wow. Number 2, the coaching. Wow. 4% of you, is that right? Saying the offense, that's it? Wow. Didn't take long for people to turn on that offense, baby. All right, confidence in the defense. Here's the deal. Click it. Tell us what you think. Play along with us. I want to know what you fans are confident in after that game last night and after 4 games. All right, we're going to run through this very quickly. Sterling, who was the best player on the field last night?
Best player on the field. That's a hard one for me. I would go as a unit, the D-line, but I can't get a person.
That's okay. That's okay. It's hard to pick a D-line. I will allow Cavalerising of this question because I was going to do it too.
I was going to tell you I had the Uber Cavaleris, because I could not think of one player to say this was the best player on the field. The kicker?
Well, okay.
I mean, hit all of his kicks.
I was going to Cavaleris it and say your kickers, because Max Gilbert was 3 of 3. But Jackson Ross last night,
punts were awesome.
8 punts for 387 yards, 48-yard average, 2 inside the 20, 3 longer than 50, and a long of 57?
Yeah.
I'll Cavaleris it and say kickers. So we got D-line, kickers. What's the best player on the field?
I guess I picked Gerard McCoy with the interception pass breakup.
Yeah.
But really there's a play that just highlights the coaching of the details of what Tennessee's taught these players. And you had, I think it was James Pierce or someone jump off sides. You thought it was going to be a free play. But you saw McCoy get an encroachment to prevent the free play. And that level of detail from what this coaching staff is doing, that's why I was like, I got to pick that guy because it saved a touchdown.
There we go. Chuck?
It's almost like my weekly pick now, I think. Brew McCoy.
Yeah.
4 receptions. What was it? 92 yards. I mean, and he continues to show up when it doesn't seem like all of your receivers are really on the same page just yet.
He has also come back as he looks faster to me.
Yeah.
He's changed his body. They said yesterday he's got his speed back. It's the same as it was. He looks faster, so I'm going to say maybe he's more explosive out of the blocks. I said this offseason, people are talking about him like he's a deep threat. He's a possession guy. You look at his numbers over the years. He's not playing like a possession guy this year, so kudos to Brew McCoy.
He's got a lot quicker. He's got a lot quicker.
I think you got to give Nico a little love too of hitting these guys in stride. I mean,
I wanted to bring that up.
The Dante Thornton touchdown yesterday.
Wow. I've never broke stride.
I texted you. Does that complete? Does that pass get completed last year?
No. Is it touched last year?
Well, and what I liked about that play in itself, it shows the confidence out there in Thornton to actually be confident in what he knows about the offense. Because most guys go across the middle, you don't see that extension. Whether it's a short post or a long post, you don't see that extension.
Right.
He went full extension, never broke his stride, didn't catch the ball to protect. He caught the ball and got it missing. And that says a lot about how comfortable he is with the offense also.
All right, so we've Cavalerised everything, except for you. You played by the rules. The rest of us went kicker, receiver, defensive line. All right, worst decision.
I've got a quick one.
Okay.
You mentioned Jackson Ross and the 57-yard punt, right? That backs them up to the 4. Oklahoma, illegal motion,
Penalty.
2 yards back. Then what do? They hand the ball off 4 yards deep in the end zone. And you know Brent Venables didn't call it because he went running over yelling at somebody like, what the heck are we doing there?
A slow developing handoff deep in the end zone in shotgun.
Handoff. And it's like, I mean, that's just almost to Tennessee. We talk about Tennessee's defensive line. That's almost like a gift safety if you're going to run that.
Yeah.
Okay, that scratches one off the list that I had down there. Bob, do you want to go with?
Going for 2, even after the penalty, they would have made it like a 25-yard 2-point conversion. You had to go for 2 to make it a touchdown
And a field goal.
and a 2-point conversion and a field goal.
Yep.
And instead, you're going to kick the 1, which makes no difference in the score. So whoever's up in the booth for Oklahoma or down on the sidelines making those decisions, going for one was a loser of a call. Even are you going to get the 2 point from the 25-yard line? Probably not.
Might get pass interference.
But the thing is, the 1 point gives you nothing.
Exactly.
So that was mine.
Does anybody have another
I
worst
thought
decision?
this is about Tennessee. The only one that I was the only one that I was kind of questioning was I kind of wondered why Lance Hurd didn't travel. But the other thing with Dane Davis, who started at left tackle, John Campbell goes down. They're moving to right tackle. When you move players like this in a game, you mess up their flow. And both of Nico's turnovers were when Dane Davis got beat. So you didn't really put him in a position to be successful.
I just don't know that they had any options, though, at this point.
They may not.
I think that may be – I'll be talking to you about the offensive line in a second, as a matter of fact. Biggest disappointment. Oh, I was going to say, this is kind of harsh because he's your 5-star, but worst decision, you started the wrong quarterback. Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Biggest disappointment is offensive line.
I think you almost have to go with the offensive line, even though injuries play a role in it. So you got to give them some credit for that. But yeah, I expected. Some people have said that this offensive line is one of the best in the country. Well, to be one of the best in the country, you've got to have depth, and you've got to be able to suffer more than one injury or two injuries. And so I'm going offensive line.
Biggest disappointment. Whew. I always love these because he doesn't want to do it.
Biggest disappointment.
Oh, he's digging for some twist.
It's hard to say.
M. Night Shyamalan. He's always got to twist it.
My biggest disappointment, it wasn't on Tennessee. It was actually on Oklahoma. Okay. It was the quarterback decision to throw a quick screen versus cover 2 ended up being you threw it behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, you've got to see that in order to earn the job to check out of that. And so that was my biggest disappointment of the game.
That is big.
Do we all go online? There's a man.
No.
Okay, what do you got?
So mine was Pierce missing the 2 sacks that he had an opportunity. It's just a guy I want to see so well. He's had all the hype coming in this season. 2 opportunities, missed it, and you gave up more punt return yards this year.
But he did get credited with half a sack.
He did get half a
So
one.
he scratched the board.
Yeah, he didn't check the board. He scratched it. All right. When we come back, did the Vols get too conservative, or were they just being smart? We'll discuss that. Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back into the Sports Source, the segment brought to you by Parkside Cabin Rentals. I'm telling you, people, I keep promising you, fall is coming. I know it is. Just because it was 94 yesterday on September 21st, fall is coming at some point. And when it does, it's going to be beautiful. And the place you're going to want to be is the Smoky Mountains. So think about them Monday through Friday as well. Everybody thinks, well, weekend trip. Weekends fill up. Monday through Friday, just as gorgeous, fewer people, perfect. Parkside Cabin Rentals, when you stay with them, you also get free parking when you go into downtown Gatlinburg. ParksideCabinRentals.com. All right, take a look at these numbers. Everybody's talking about whether or not Josh Heupel got too conservative yesterday. They scored 19 points in the first half, led 19-3. In the second half, they lost that second half, 12-6. Total yards, 204 in the first half, 141 in the second half. Passing yards, 126 in the first half, 68 in the second half. But Nico, 8 of 11, 5 of 10 in the second half. So they only threw one fewer pass, and they did take shots in the second half. So it's not like they just completely went into a shell. So I ask you guys, and I'll start with Jimmy, your opinion. Did Heupel get too conservative?
I thought he did.
You're wrong. Get off the
I thought he did. Yeah, I thought he got too conservative too early. I don't have a problem with what they did in the second half. He went conservative in the second quarter.
Yes.
And he was up 12-3. The first 5 possessions of the game, Tennessee threw on first down 3 times. Then he went 9 possessions in a row running the football on first down and gained 15 yards. I thought that was too conservative too early. I don't have a problem with the second half when you had built the lead and your defense was
right.
stymieing Oklahoma. Yeah. And I think he got a little he saw the defense was playing very well. I get that.
Right.
And he also had a quarterback that had 2 fumbles on sacks. And I think that led to him being more conservative than he normally would have been.
Yeah, it did. We were talking back and forth. It didn't bother me. It bothered you. It didn't bother me because you had 2 linemen you had one lineman out, another lineman gets hurt. Nico's getting hit. There's pressure on him all night. He gets 2 strip sacks. I'm sitting there thinking, why give him anything easy? Why give him any cheapy? So I understood that. But Bob, go ahead.
You can be conservative and still throw it, I think, a little bit more.
Yeah.
But some of the conservatism, though, you got to it's good conservatism. On that first possession, Tennessee had a 4th down up around the 50. Last year, they would have gone for that.
We talked about it on this show.
Yeah.
And this year, hey, we're going to punt it away and we're going to let our defensive play. So, yeah, there were times in that game I was wanting a little bit more something open. It didn't have to be shots down the field. It just had to be a little bit more diversity in what you're trying to do. But at the same time, okay, you go to Oklahoma and you come home with a win.
A double-digit win.
I'd rather have the conservative win.
Well, but it was 12-3 when he went conservative.
Yeah,
and
it was.
that to me was too close at that moment.
I just thought it was also when Campbell went out, though. But okay, there you go. That's good. Now let's see what these guys think. Bob hit on it last year. We brought up on the show, and I've always said offensive coaches, when the chips are down, they tend to go back and trust their offense more than their defense. Defensive coaches, like Mark Stoops, he can be wide open for 3, but if it comes tight, his defense is going to be what he wins with.
Right.
We asked last year, you're going for it on 4th and 1 all these times, and you're not getting it. Protect your defense. It's your strength. It appears to me that Josh Heupel has learned that, and that is a big step for an offensive guru to say, all right, I'm going to beat you with my defense.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good thing. I mean, you had to look at this game and go, what is happening in the game? And I think there's also another thing, maybe Venables and Heupel know each other fairly well. They know their systems. They know what they are. And I think there's a healthy respect of knowing that Venables can change stuff up during a game and saying he's going to give me something unexpected. So I think some of that conservatism was also just saying, hey, I don't want to get surprised by anything right now, so what I'm going to do is feel it out, because I looked at the second half as they would take one shot on a series, and that was it. If it went, okay, they were going to start probably rolling. But if they didn't get it, then it was kill the clock. And that was what they went to, and that was what they said, this is the kind of game we've got to play. And like you said, when you have a defense like playing that way, you just go, hey, my defense has the opportunity to score points just as well as my offense at certain points. When they're playing like that, I'm going to put it in their hands and let them try to see what they can't do against us.
We've got a too conservative, not too conservative. Where are you?
I'm going to say it was not too conservative for this game.
For this game. Yeah.
This game you played the right way, right? I think this is the kind of game you had to play.
Yeah.
Chuck, you're the deciding factor. Is it too conservative?
I'll tell you what I was thinking. I was thinking about that famous Herb Edwards quote, you play to win the game. And I think that's exactly what he did, and I think you make a great point. He knows Brent Venables as good as anybody. And what about a blindside sack, a scoop and score? He knew that the only way Oklahoma was really going to get back in the game was by something bad happening on offense. And I think that's why he kind of shut it down and did what he did.
Wrong.
No, you do that on your show. You throw us off your show. It's not that, okay. One other thing I want to quickly squeeze in here. Talking about first downs, and it is interesting that they ran every time on first down. That could, it doesn't have to be that run every time on first down. You can throw on first down, then run on second down. So I get that part of it. But you said as we were coming in here, you thought Venables threw his best stuff at you on first down, which is a smart way to attack this offense.
It is. This offense gets a first down, and they get good yardage on first down. They have series that go for 10 plays, and then they score points. I think what he did was he said, I'm going to be ultra aggressive on first down. I'm going to take away, I'm going to sell out to get the run. I'm going to show you different stuff. I'm going to show you a 6-man box, and then we're going to rotate with 8 men in, with safeties walking down at the end. I think he really just spent his time and said, guys, the number one strategy for us in this game to stop his offense, you have to win first down. And I believe that's the way he called this game and made this game, is winning on first down and saying, we're going to take it away. And so I think they had their best game, and that part of their game was really good on first down. And so that's why it was a struggle for our offense.
So they're gunning to stop the run on first down. Why don't you throw it some more? That's what
they showed them not. I mean, it was a good set of coverages and good things that they had going. So I think they were blitzing too. So that's where they were getting some of these sacks and they were causing turnovers.
Throw a screen, throw a quick out.
Yeah. Man, you just hated it. All right, we got it. Should have won 42-15.
No, I didn't say that.
That's what I heard. So I put words in your mouth. When we come back, how big of a concern is the O-line and O-line injuries coming back on the Sports Source? Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. As summer gives way to fall and winter, ladybugs, stink bugs, box elder bugs, they all want to come into your home. I saw a stink bug on my door yesterday. I swear to you, it was right there on the glass, and I had to shoo him away so he didn't come in when I opened the door. You need to get the fall invader treatment. Do it now so you don't have 1,000 of these little critters in your home come spring. When I saw the stink bug, this was yesterday, I said to myself, call Matthew Haynes on Monday and get the fall invader treatment, which I do every year, and it works every year. I've done it. Before I got with Southeast Termite and Pest Control, I would have 2 million ladybugs in my windowsill come February and March every year. Since I got the fall invader treatment, not an issue. SoutheastTermite.com to learn more. Let's take a look at the poll question again and see where that is. Man, the offense getting no love. That's amazing. People have more faith in the defense, 59%, if I'm reading that right, than they do the offense. And coaching is second to the defense. Who would have said that at Tennessee 2 years ago, or when Josh Heupel was hired? That's amazing. Wow. Okay, let's take a look at the UT offensive line so far. That's what they did against Chattanooga, NC State, Kent State, Oklahoma. 151 yards rushing, just 2.9 yards per carry last night. 3 sacks allowed. Daniel,
yes, sir.
Tennessee's O-line was a concern coming into the season, 4 games into the season. Is it a bigger concern?
Yeah, it's definitely on the radar, and as Josh Ward said, like, we're alerted to the problems right now. And I think about Tennessee's offensive line with Cade Mays when he went out, how much the yards per carry changed, and I'm not above a 4 right now because I think it's only going to hurt you against Alabama and Georgia. I think you still have better talent than the other teams you're going to play, but it's up there, especially with the turnovers on the sack fumbles all from your backup tackle.
It's a concern.
It's a concern.
Yeah, Sterling.
Well, as a quarterback, it's always a concern because you want that to be the strongest part of the team. But this is where I'm at with the offensive line. I'm not as concerned as much as their players. They're getting respected by these refs. Some of these calls are imaginary, John P. I mean, I'm just keeping it 100. That's how I feel about it. Is what I saw. That one big play to Thornton, that was a 50-yard play. He can let that wasn't a hold to me, and a lot of my friends feel the same way. One guy who was offensive lineman feels that wasn't a hold.
So a lot of former Tennessee players and fans
absolutely.
Didn't like so did they make the same bad calls against Oklahoma, or was it just on Tennessee?
No, just always on Tennessee.
Yeah, there we go. Let me ask you this very quickly on the offensive line thing. A lot of people were texting me, Nico's got to learn to protect the ball. What's Nico doing? As a quarterback, you're going to tell me always take care of the ball. However, you're in the pocket. Strip sack, they happen. It's hard for me to put that on that quarterback, especially a rookie, which is basically what he is.
Well, it's first of all, the ability to strip sack a ball from a quarterback is being taught now. Back when I played, it wasn't much taught. It was just seen by Lawrence Taylor.
Right.
Okay, yeah. So now it's being taught. And with all of the things, the nuances that secondaries and linebackers are doing out there, you're real busy in that little 3 seconds. And had he gotten that one off, it might have been a touchdown and the receiver was pulling away. So, it's harder to do. You may want to buy a couple extra pizzas for your linemen to make sure they get an extra.
But how much blame? I mean, again, buck stops with you. I get that part of it, but give me the reality. You're not a quarterback. How much of the blame is on him for the strip sack, and how much of that is, man, that's tough. And you're in there and you don't see it coming from behind.
It's always the man with the ball's fault.
Okay.
Always.
He's going to give me that. I knew what it was going to be.
That's all I can say.
Okay. Josh. Lance Hurd's out. Then John Campbell gets out. They're moving Davis around, as Daniel pointed out. Johnson comes in. How big are the injuries a concern for you? Because it's one thing to worry about this offensive line coming into the season. Now, you got an open date coming up, but if you're this shaky with your depth, this makes this more of a concern than it was coming into the year for me with the offensive line. You more concerned or about the same?
It was probably my biggest concern entering because it was already kind of a question. Like John Campbell Jr. was held out a lot during fall camp because they wanted to make sure they did everything to get him ready. He came out during the NC State game. So we kind of knew going in, hey, if Lance Hurd's not available, there's a chance they need to use both tackles at some point. And that ended up being the case. And then I think Josh Heupel kind of answered the question for us with the way he approached the rest of the game. His play calling, part of that has to be affected by his confidence in tackle play. I still say the guy that would be most difficult to replace is Cooper May. So if they have him, I'm going to feel okay about the offensive line. I also say this probably isn't a Tennessee issue. Like if you look across college football,
Yeah.
You're not going to find many teams that feel good if they have to go to tackles 3 and 4.
Right.
But Tennessee fans aren't worried about other schools; they're worried about Tennessee. So they need Hurd back healthy. He still has to prove a lot. He hasn't played that much, by the way. But yeah, they need him, and Campbell's a guy I think to monitor all season long.
Well, to underscore how Tennessee fans worry about Tennessee people, have we mentioned all of the injuries on Oklahoma's line in the show? We haven't really. Have we?
I don't think UT
Those
fans
were
are
pretty
feeling
big.
bad as soon as they're walking back to the locker room.
Those were pretty. That was a beat up Oklahoma team.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
that doesn't change the fact you went in there and won. Thank you guys very much. When we come back, what last night's win meant for the Vols' playoff chances. Are they a lock now? As long as you go 2 losses the rest of the way and they're in Alabama, Georgia, you're in? We'll discuss. Coming back. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine. Great fall deals going on right now. I mean, terrific fall deals. All 2024 and prior G3 fishing boats, up to $5,500 in rebates if purchased by Halloween. Suncatcher pontoons, up to $5,000 in rebates if purchased by Halloween. Rebates up to $6,000 on Skeeter if you buy by September 30th. They've got deals on Godfrey Aqua Patio pontoons, deals on Hurricane deck boats. All these things, the clock is ticking, but the rebates are monstrous because some of them end at Halloween. Madisonville Marine, get down there and see them. madmarine.com is where you can learn more online. There is no better place to buy a boat. Bob Hodge, Vols are now 4-0 with wins over 2 teams that were ranked when they played them, though NC State does not look like they're going to finish the season ranked. Let's take a look at Tennessee's schedule. There you go. At Arkansas after the open date. Florida, Alabama, open date. Kentucky, Mississippi State. Then you go at Georgia, UTEP, at Vanderbilt. The consensus thinking seems to be, so long as Tennessee beats the teams they're favored against, and let's assume they're still going to be underdogs against Alabama for the sake of this discussion. If they lose to Alabama and Georgia, they finish 10-2. They got wins over NC State and at Oklahoma. Most people seem to think they're in the playoff, period. Do you agree with that assessment?
Yes, I do. Before the season, I was the one person that didn't think this team was going to be great. I've now changed my opinion. I think that they probably are going to be a playoff team. I think you're going to find out Arkansas and Florida will sort of make or break your season as far as I'm concerned. But, yeah, if you go through this schedule and you only lose those 2 games, I think you're in the playoffs.
The fact that you won at Oklahoma and you can get in with Alabama and Georgia, it almost makes Arkansas and Florida your most important.
Yeah.
And I guess you'd say Kentucky.
And I think Arkansas will be a surprisingly tough team. But, yes, if you go 10-2 and those are your 2 losses, you're in.
I disagree.
Okay, Chuck disagrees.
Well, you're in the mix. My thing is, what happens if Texas wins the SEC and you've lost to Alabama and Georgia? You're most likely in the mix with maybe an Ole Miss, maybe a Big Ten team, maybe somebody
There's
else.
12 slots, though.
Right,
man.
yeah, you're very deserving, but I don't think you're a lock. I think you have to see who else is in the mix with you. Because what I saw on their criteria is strength of schedule, head-to-head results, comparative outcomes of common opponents. I don't think we feel very good about Tennessee's strength of schedule as it stacks up to maybe some other teams. So I don't think you can say it's a lock, but you're in the mix for sure.
Jimmy?
I'm in Chuck's camp with that one because
Oh, you're both wrong.
you've played.
So you're wrong. Get off the set. Jimmy, you have the honors. Toss it.
See you, Bob. Because you played UTEP and Kent State, 2 of the worst teams in college football.
And Chattanooga.
And Chattanooga. So that's awful. NC State's not very good. They were down 52-7 to Clemson, regardless of the final score. So I think it depends on who you're going against.
Exactly.
And so if there's another 10-2 team out there with a strength of schedule that's 15th, and your strength of schedule is 55th, I think there's a debate about whether you get in.
Yeah. Wow. So
it depends on who.
If Tennessee, let's
compare it to.
see. So if Tennessee goes 10-2 and they don't get in the playoff because of their crummy non-conference schedule, well, I can promise Vol fans now I won't bring that up. We won't talk about that.
I'm just saying the word lock makes it a guarantee.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, that's where I am.
Well, let me ask you this one. Let me flip
I think
it
they'll
on you.
get in it, but I don't think it's a lock.
All right, let's flip it. Let's say you beat Alabama, lose to Georgia, but you lose to Florida home, or you lose to Arkansas on the road. Would you still get in, or does the loss have to be? Do you think you get in? What does that do to your chances? Let me just ask it that way. Does that make it less likely? I mean, you've beaten Alabama. Does that cancel out a loss to a worse team?
I think 10-2 is the key. That to me is the key. If you go 10-2, yeah, well, somebody 11-1 from the Big Ten or the Pac-70 or whatever is still out there. Yes, but I think if you're 10-2, I think Tennessee gets in.
Well, here's what you got to watch out for. Watch out for a Penn State. That's a perfect example of somebody you could be in competition with. And there could be multiple teams like that. Penn State may be 11-1. We don't know. But
I think if you lose out to an 11-1 team, you lose out to an 11-1 team.
Yeah.
So
but that's all
are you going to have that many? But I think if it's all 10-2s, the SEC 10-2s will make it.
Okay. He's saying that it doesn't matter who you lose to as long as you're 2. I don't know about that.
I don't either.
I don't know about that. I wonder if you get docked more. I don't know that beating Alabama in the committee's eyes will count more than, but they lost to Arkansas or they lost to Kentucky. I don't know. That worries me more. If you're 2 losses to Alabama and Georgia, I feel better about it. Now, look, if you don't lose twice, if you're 11-1, you're in,
right?
Which they may well do. But we're looking at the cutoff line, what it takes to get in.
Yeah. Here's another concern about the guarantee. How many SEC teams are they going to take?
Exactly.
Are they going to, well?
And I would have said no to that before the season because it's just politics of it.
If you're not the conference champion, how many spots are there, Jimmy? 7 at large? Boy, I tell you what, if you take 5 SEC, then it gets dicey.
But see, everything I have read, and this isn't the final thing, obviously, but everything I read has 5 SEC teams going.
Even when you're reading about the coal industry.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's amazing.
And that could well be the case, but I just don't think it's guaranteed. Few things in life are guaranteed.
Drop the guarantee. All right, we've moved on to another question here. Yes, we have. We're talking now specifically, does losing to Arkansas or Florida get countermanded or
beating Alabama?
Yeah, does beating Alabama cancel that out if you lose to somebody worse?
Yeah, and I don't know what the committee's going to do.
I don't know.
You were bringing it up. You got a 12-man committee, whatever. I don't know how they would view that. I'm not really sure. But my guess is they would probably wash. Okay, if you beat Alabama and lost to Arkansas, do you get more credit for beating Alabama than losing to Arkansas? I don't know how they'd look at that.
It's also going to. It'll also take into account this huge game coming up this coming week, Alabama and Georgia.
Yes.
What happens in that game?
Yeah.
Those head-to-head matchups are going to be
Right.
very big between Alabama, Georgia, Texas, and Tennessee, and then you got Ole Miss who really doesn't play that.
I'd like to
And
see
you still got Missouri.
and I'd like to see the first rankings when they come out and see where Tennessee is in those.
I think Missouri's going to be penalized for the way they've looked.
I do too. But if you beat Alabama head-to-head and you lost Arkansas, then you got the head-to-head tiebreaker against Alabama, right?
You do.
So that would benefit you in terms of
unless
that.
Alabama has 2 losses themselves or 3 losses, and then it becomes a question mark.
Okay.
I don't know.
I just feel good about being positive.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate you. Good luck to your Vikings today. When we come back, rapid fire questions on James Pierce, Nico Iamaleava, and penalties. Come on back. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Daniel Hood Roofing. Homeowners are always focused on the roof, which makes sense. Do a lot of damage to your house if you got a leaky roof. But are you paying attention to your gutters? Right now is the time. Leaves are starting to fall. Leaves fill up gutters. That causes problems as well. Have Daniel Hood and his team come out and take a look at your gutters, see if they can do something for you to protect your home before you start having those kinds of issues. DanielHoodRoofing.com is where you can go and read testimonials from all kinds of your neighbors here in East Tennessee who've used that company and been happy they did. All right, poll results. Let's take a look at what we got. Boy, didn't change much. Defense, you guys just wanted the defense. Big chunk coaching and the offense, less than 10%. That's amazing. If we had asked that a week ago before this Oklahoma game.
Flip it.
Do you think?
Yes.
That's just stunning to me. All right.
Defensive coach Josh Heupel.
There you go. That's right. Thank you very much for playing. We appreciate it.
Defensive guru.
Woody Hayes.
Yeah. All right. Josh Heupel's team, we got rapid fire, so one question for each, and this is going to be Josh Ward. I'll start with you. Josh Heupel's teams have finished 11th in the SEC in penalties in 2021, then dead last in 2022 and 2023. His teams at UCF had tons of penalties as well. They have averaged 63, 68, 67, and this year 64 penalty yards per game. It's pretty steady. This year, though, they're getting a lot of personal foul calls. Had 5 yesterday. They would have had 4 if not 1 canceling out against NC State. Are you worried, Josh, about the penalties, or do you dismiss them because Heupel's teams are always penalized?
Well, I will worry about them in big games. So when they go to Georgia, I'm going to worry on the road of penalties like that because the margin is so thin. When I see Tennessee's defense, though, playing the way that it is, so typically with these penalty issues, every year we're going to talk about them being some level of concern. Often I'm concerned because if the offense gets set back and the offense deals with issues, I don't know that Tennessee's going to be good enough to deal with that because the defense isn't going to be able to save them. Now the defense can kind of save them. I also wonder the personal foul issues. If Jacoby Thomas was talking about they play with this mindset of wanting carnage. Well, if that's their mindset, there are probably going to be some penalties that come out of that. So overall, because of how good the defense is, I have less concern than I typically do.
Okay, very good. Jimmy, your question is about Nico Iamaleava. Let's put up his stats from his first 4 games, if we can. There we go. The completions and attempts, the passing yards, touchdown interception, rushing yards, rushing touchdowns. Jimmy, F to A+. Grade Nico Iamaleava's season to date and explain your grade.
I'd give him a B+. The competition the first 3 games wasn't very stiff, and he put up some good numbers. Oklahoma was a better team. He didn't play as well, I didn't think. I didn't think he was as accurate against Oklahoma as I've seen him before. I also thought that his pocket presence was a little bit iffy in terms of feeling the rush and knowing where folks are. But overall, I think he's done a really nice job, so I'd give him a B+. I think he sees the field pretty well, but sometimes I think with his internal clock with the pass rush, he needs to get rid of the ball a little bit quicker.
He's been really good, I think. He hasn't been great, but that's exactly what I expected. I mean, I think most people who are realistic about it thought this is a guy who's only played one game before, started one game before. It's going to take him a while to learn that kind of stuff. This is your first road game. I think that's a very good grade, B+. All right. Will, through 4 games, James Pierce, college football's greatest player, according to the preseason stuff. Through 4 games, James Pierce has 3 tackles, 1 solo tackle, 1 tackle for loss, a half sack, 5 hurries. Grade from F to A+, James Pierce this season.
Yeah, if you're just saying a player grade and you don't come in with the hype, you give him a C, right? But based on the hype, it has to be a D. I mean, just hadn't impacted the game.
The rain clouds have blown in.
I know.
But I know what you're saying.
He had a chance to make 2 sacks and he missed them yesterday too. So if you come out of that game, then all of a sudden I bump you up to a B because all of a sudden big games you showed up, you stepped up, and you had 2 big plays. And so he's not far away from getting to where you're like, he just needs to take over one of these games and have a couple of these plays. He just hadn't done it yet. And some of it is they're dropping him and they're doing some things with him. And so he's not always just his hand in the dirt pass rushing every time. So I think there's some things that they're using him differently than they did last year. That's taking away shots on rushes away from him. So it's part of it. He's not going to have as many. He's still a great talent. He's still got the ability, and he's beating his guy off the ball and winning his one-on-one matchup. He's just not getting home.
I was going to ask you, and I think you just answered it. Is he sacrificing some numbers because he's being used differently? Yeah. And I guess that you would have to say he's taking the marching orders and doing it. Let me give you another question, though. Is there any chance, last year you had Tyler Barron on the other side, and he had the good year the year before, and people were kind of looking at him, and James Pierce was the guy that kind of took advantage of people looking at Tyler Barron. Now there's no Tyler Barron. Is that costing? I mean, you got more attention on you, but also you would think that would open the door for somebody else to become the next James Pierce.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. I think, on one of those plays I watched yesterday, he did beat his guy. He got around, and the guy got there first. And so the other part is you've got other guys winning their one-on-one matchups, and some of those guys are inside 2 yards away from the quarterback, and they're getting there quick. Okay. So at times it's like maybe you only had 2 guys that could win one-on-ones. Now you got 4 guys that win one-on-ones.
Okay, there you go. There was a break in the clouds. That was a little sunshine that came through there. All right. When we come back, did yesterday's win on the road help to quell concerns about Heupel's veer and shoot offense on the road? Coming back, our VFLs will discuss that next. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Safety Systems. You know about their security systems because they've been the best in East Tennessee for more than 2 decades, almost 3 decades now. How about home automation? putting lights, doors, locks, climate controls, music systems, all in the palm of your hand via smartphone or tablet. Call VFL JJ Surlis and his team this week to learn more. All right, as we told you earlier in the show and last week and for years, Tennessee and Josh Heupel's offense averages 45 points in Neyland Stadium, 42 in a neutral site. But it drops to 31 points a game on the road, and it's going to drop further. I just didn't do the math at 3 a.m., but it's going to drop further after a 25-point game yesterday. So I want to ask the VFL and have them debate this. Do they feel the same questions continue about this offense when it goes on the road? Will Overstreet, take it away.
So, yeah, John. So, I mean, you have to look at this and go, okay, so what have they done, right? We see the Florida game last year. You see the South Carolina game a couple years ago. You see the Missouri game. So all of those are sticking in your head, and then you see a game last night.
Painful.
Right? And all of those
Man,
are
my
on the
stomach
road.
hurt, right? So I think about that.
All of those. So, Daniel, when you think about that, what is your comfort level with this offense being able to go on the road? You got coming up to Arkansas in a couple of weeks, that kind of game on the road. You know, how do you feel about this offense? Have they gotten over the hurdle, or is this still a question mark of trouble?
I think this is definitely still a question mark, especially with the two strip fumbles against Oklahoma. The only little hope that I have is that this defense travels. And I think these road games are more about you got to have better players. And Tennessee's finally got that elite talent. Yeah. And that's where I've got a little confidence there, but you still got to go prove it right now.
What do you think it is, Sterl, like that there is that struggle on the road? Because sometimes it's against lesser talent. It's not against, you know, the same level of talent, but they've struggled in some games like that. Why do you think that offense has a little more struggles on the road right now?
Well, coming from a quarterback's perspective, you know, and a problem that I didn't have was people hearing me on the field, and now you got that anger, loudness against you on the road. Mm-hmm. And our offense is a lot of moving parts. And when we try to go fast, everybody's got to be on the same page. And somebody might not hear a check or a different play that you have to get out to the receivers or tight end, the running back, or slide the line. And now you got that noise that we created kneeling to the other teams now coming to us when we go there. And sometimes with this offense having to be so precise during the entire game, one move different knocks the whole play off and could be negative to us sometimes.
So do you think then that's always going to be for this offense kind of the struggle of, hey, when we're on the road, we're not the same offense as we're at home?
Well, there are things to do to practice and prepare for that. Mm-hmm. So you need noise in practice and more and more influx in the quarterback's voice and even signs and signals. So that's what I think. And then we get that honed, we'll get more points on the board on the road.
And I guess it makes it tougher when you have substitutions because, right, once you practice with a group, you've got on the same page, you have your signals, but all of a sudden a receiver goes out, and it's the backup receiver that you've had less practice time with. Now, does he know the signals? Does he get the things the same checks the same way? I think that can become that pressure. It just takes one guy being off, and that play's not working.
And I think there's also just the human element, too. I mean, we've seen USC go to Michigan yesterday and get beat. When you're traveling time zones, you're going on a plane, you know, what does it look like when they get off the plane? Are they working out? What's their food schedule? Like, all these things are coming into play, and it just seems like with the offense, it's gotten them thrown off.
Yeah, so, John, I think the real question when we talk about this here is it's still a problem. It's still something that we say, hey, he's a work in progress. And it's always going to have a little bit more struggles on the road just because of that level of communication. And so it's just, you know, but I think as we get more mature quarterback play and he grows up a little bit, that will help with some of this. But it's still one of those things you look at and go, we're not the exact same offense on the road as we are at home.
Yeah, and we spoke yesterday on the Saturday show, and you can see it on YouTube. We talked to Ollie Lane, who was on that line last year, and he admitted there were some silent count issues that they had. I think one of the things you get into when a big advantage of this offense, maybe the biggest advantage of this offense, is that tempo. Well, when you're having to everybody get on the same page, turn around, see if a guy's raising his leg to snap it, that doesn't allow you to fire off the ball the way you can. It doesn't allow you to get up there and go to the line as you do at home. So I don't know that this does get fixed completely anywhere in the future simply because tempo, to me, seems to be the biggest advantage you have. And when you're having to get everybody on the same page in a loud environment like that, and you can't just yell the call, say snap it, everybody goes, I think that's going to continue to haunt you a little bit. We'll see. When we come back, let's play Will They or Won't They. With the remaining games on the schedule, we'll see if some guys break records at Tennessee. Come on back. welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Games and Things. Football season's here. So, folks, you only got a couple more months. Then you got basketball season, you got baseball. You need a good home theater seat set up. If you want to have a comfortable experience for the rest of fall and spring and then next summer, get yourself down to Games and Things and check out their home theater seating. All right, we got some issues going on here on the set. That's okay. Have we got mic issues? Is everybody good? We're handing out mics. Okay, good enough. This is live TV. All right. We got 3 questions for our VFLs. Sterling, you're okay. You're loud. You don't need a mic, man.
It's mainly there for us, I think. Mainly there for.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
Okay. All right. Very good. It's time for Will They, Won't They. We'll just let you speak with your signs then. We'll let these guys talk. Our VFLs get first dibs to question, then a media member. Here we go. 9 former Vols have caught double-digit touchdowns in a season. 9 times it's happened. Dante Thornton has 3 touchdowns this year. If he plays in 13 games, which you'd imagine he would, that prorates to 9.7 touchdowns. Will Thornton get to 10 receiving touchdowns by year's end? We got a no, we got a yes, we got a yes. Okay, now this falls right along the weather lines. You got the Sunshine Boys and Rain Cloud. Okay, let's get the media's take on this. Does he get to 10?
Yeah, that's San Diego and New York in the wintertime is what we just saw.
I think 10's too high.
I'll say no. 10's a long shot.
Yeah, I'm going to say no because it's going to be spread out among the other receivers. I'm going to go no.
Yeah, and I think he's the favorite deep threat, right? But I don't know that you can count on that going on, so I would take under.
Very good. Next one. Dylan Sampson is on pace right now, if he plays 13 games, for 1,459 rushing yards. The single season record is 1,464, held by Travis Stevens, Will's old teammate in 2001. Will Dylan Sampson break Travis Stevens' single-season rushing record of 1,464? No, 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 no. They say no. What are we saying over here?
I agree with that. I don't think he'll get enough carries.
And I think the defenses are going to get tougher
Yeah.
in the SEC.
And I don't know about your offensive line getting stronger.
Right.
Still got that UTEP game. I mean, you can get a third of it right there.
If they leave him in, does he play more than a quarter?
I'll say he falls short, but he's going to have a big year if he stays healthy all the way through.
I think Jalen Wright last year had, I think, 1034. So if you're talking about 1459 that you're on pace for, that's pretty big. All right, last one. James Pierce has a half sack on the season, as we discussed earlier. With at least 9 more games to go, will Pierce get to 5 sacks on the season? Yes, yes, yes. All right, I was initially, we got a no from Daniel Hood. All right, let's hold on for a second. I was initially going to say 6. 6 sacks. Would that change anybody's vote? Difference between 5 and 6? Okay. Has anybody got a mic on over there?
I got one.
Okay, just one. So, Daniel, speak into his mic. Why?
I just think with the depth of the defensive line, he's not going to get the snaps and opportunities to get up there. I think there's going to be a lot more sacks this year, just distributed out.
Okay, very good. Guys, I appreciate it. And we caught up. When we come back, it's time for the Beat the House segment. We'll tell you, well, everybody won, but what were our wagers last week? Who's in the lead? We'll make our picks 2 weeks from now. It's Tennessee, Arkansas. It's a tough challenge for Chuck to try and get that line ready. So we're going to have the line for Arkansas in 2 weeks, and we got to make our wagers today. Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by the Chris Smith Agency, Chris Smith Insurance. Man, when it comes to my car, it's insured by Chris Smith Insurance. When it comes to the new studio I put together, and it's insured by Chris Smith Insurance, that's where I go. He's a farmer's agent, and he's also an independent agent, which means if he can't find you the right protection, the right policy that you like and fits your needs with farmers, he can do so as an independent agent and find different policies that may better fit you, better protect you, or better fit what you want to do cost-wise. Visit Chris's website this week, csmithagency.com. He's my guy. He should be your guy, Chris Smith Insurance. All right, time to beat the house. I always love that Sinatra-esque. Chucky Casino, that's where we're heading. You got the green visor, that's the trademark of Chuck E. C. and his casino. You give those things out free for people indoor, Chuck? The green? All right. Beat the House featuring the Cavaleros line. Let's take a look at the standings after last week when everybody won. You had Tennessee by 8.5, I think was the line, and we all took Tennessee. As Josh pointed out, though, that 2-point conversion there kind of made it close.
And the 2-point safety.
Yeah, but there you go, the safety. Daniel in the lead. He's been shoving the cash right into the middle of the table, and he's just pulling away. $900 for Daniel. Bob is second. Sterling is tied with Bob. He had a big week last week, $250. $750 is where those guys are. Marlon is next. Then I had I jumped. I put a little bit more in than the other guys. That won't last. Then we got Mike. Then we got Will. We got Josh. And we got Jimmy at the end.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
There you go. All right. So, Chucky C. Note, we got to be quick here. Give me what's your line for Tennessee, Arkansas? And again, for the folks at home, Chuck isn't trying to guess the line. He's trying to create a line that splits us. And this has been a very pro-Tennessee group so far. Yeah. So if
keep
you want to split us, you may have
that in mind.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, let there be no doubt that the open date falls at a good time for Tennessee to get some of these players healthy. So that means Arkansas has to play Texas A&M. And on that line, I believe I saw that Texas A&M is a 10.5-point favorite. So with that in mind, I'm going to go at least twice that, John. We're going to try and split the panel. Okay. I tell you what, boys, let's jump on 23.5. Vols minus 23.5 when they play at Arkansas.
Okay.
Oh, Sterling's
and again,
got his mouth open.
You might have Sterling going the wrong way now. That's worth the price of admission right there. All right. Daniel, you got $900. You can put down $450.
Yeah, I have a bad experience in Arkansas, so I'll just go $100 on Arkansas.
Okay, $100 on the Razorbacks. All right, I'll get Bob later. Sterling.
23.5. I'm going to go $100, and I'm going to have to take Arkansas. I don't see us winning by 23.5 down there.
I hope the team is watching this.
I believe in them. 23.5 is big away. That's huge away.
It's clear.
That's huge.
You a rain cloud.
Yeah, it's clear. You're just a big rain cloud.
I'm wearing all orange that day, baby. Orange.
I got Marlon. I'll get him later. That means I'm next. I don't like that. 23.5. Yeah, I'll put 200 on Arkansas. Mike Stoll, I'll get him later. Will Overstreet.
Thinking about it, I could just take the Vols this time and put like 50 on it just to rub.
Yeah.
So, kind of thinking that way a little bit. But, man, 23.5.
Yeah, I think we went.
But I'm going to do it. What the heck? 50 on the Vols. I believe in them, Sterling.
There you go.
We're going to win 23.5.
All right, Josh.
I'm teaming up with Sunshine Will.
Oh, wow.
I'll go 50 on the Vols.
All right, 50 on UT. Jimmy.
Why do you care? I'm last. Nobody wants to know what the heck I think.
$250. You'll move ahead of me when I'm wrong here. Take the Vols, put 250 on them.
I'll put I don't want to go ahead of you. I'll put 200 on Arkansas because Tennessee will be too conservative. In the
there you go. Too conservative. That's interesting. Wow. Good job, Chuck. You got a couple people to go the other way. I think he was just trying to throw you a lifeline. 23.5, man. That's huge.
That's a big deal.
This is going to be let's see this. Is this a tougher game than people are going to expect?
Yes, absolutely.
I think fans didn't expect it to be a tough game last night in Oklahoma.
Yes.
The score was a little closer than it should have been, but that one was never really in doubt in my mind. Arkansas, is that going to be closer than people think?
I think so. They've got a very athletic quarterback who's turnover prone.
Right.
They've got a really good running back, but I think Arkansas at the line of scrimmage is pretty decent. So I think this will be a closer game.
And Hawkins gave you some fits last night with the dual threat stuff, so that is an issue. All right. Guys, thank you very much to everybody here. I appreciate it. Thanks to you for watching. Always appreciate you and our sponsors who make this happen year-round for 22 years. Thank you very much. Thanks to the crew here at WATE as well. We will see you next Saturday at 11 here or on YouTube and Sunday. See you later.